Jiang Zemin, the president and general secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, the only person more powerful than Zhu Rongji, and the only one who could disagree with him.
I saw two vehicles came out of Zhongnanhai. The speed was very high.
George asked that we not give his Chinese name to protect his family in China.
The windows were tinted. You can't see inside, but the passenger can see out. The police then added another line of guards, from 1 to 2 lines of police.
I saw that the situation was very tense, but we didn't feel at all scared. Why? Because we felt that we were right and just. I thought I hadn't done anything wrong.
And then they just drive away. It didn't come back. And then people say Jiang Zemin was in the car. When Jiang Zemin saw so many people gathering outside, he freaked out.
Later that day, Jiang circulated this letter, now published in his selected works, to the members of the Chinese Communist Party Central Committee. A new message. Today's event is worthy of our deep contemplation. Could it be that the Marxist ideals held by all Communist Party members and our belief in materialism and atheism can't triumph over the system of things propagated by the Falun Gong? If that were the case, wouldn't this be a big joke? All leading cadres in all levels, especially those in high levels, should be awake and clear-minded now. But it wasn't clear to those at the scene who was in the car as it drove off. Nothing else seemed to happen. Night fell and the quiet protest dispersed.
I think between 8 and 9 p.m. that evening, there was news that the Tianjin Falun Gong practitioners were released.
It seemed like the appeal had been successful. And for almost 3 months, practitioners all over China thought that they had won themselves the right to believe.
People thought that the Chinese government had handled it so well.
But beneath the surface, Jiang Zemin was getting ready to launch a nationwide ban on Falun Gong. A ban that would cost the country huge amounts of money and destroy the lives of tens of millions of Chinese people. China is not a country where protests are taken lightly, a lesson that was brought home by 1989's Tiananmen Square massacre. But China seemed to have changed a lot in the 10 years since. In 1989, almost no one had heard of Falun Gong. 10 years later, the government estimated that there were anywhere from 70 to 100 million people practicing it. Each morning, tens of millions of people woke up in the dark early hours to get to practice sites by 4 a.m. so that they could finish their exercises before work.
My exercise site was a square in front of my school. Every morning there were 300 to 400 people doing the group exercises.
Falun Gong is a practice of 5 relatively simple Qigong exercises. Qigong practices generally subscribe to philosophies similar to those of traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. But Falun Gong differentiated itself from other Qigong schools by emphasizing the moral principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance.
I thought it was interesting and that their movements were very graceful, so I walked up to have a closer look. I saw a sign next to them explaining Falun Gong. After I read it, a person next to me began explaining what it was.
It was a time when such scenes were occurring all over China. The Cultural Revolution that began in the 60s had seen chaos, bloodshed, and the loss of countless cultural traditions. The openness and reform policies of the 80s opened China to foreign investment and trade. While Madonna was singing Material Girl in the West, in the East there was a new saying: to get rich is glorious.
One of the general problems that China has today is that there's no universally accepted set of values, and there's a tremendous sense, I think, of emptiness in the lives of lots of ordinary people, even party officials. And Qigong was notable because it had an appeal right up to the very top.
And like almost everything in China, Qigong was managed by the state.
Chinese government set up this so-called Qigong Research Society and to manage all these meditation Qigong groups. But this is run by the government, by the state.
In 1992, the founder of Falun Gong, Li Hongzhi, registered Falun Gong with the China Qigong Science Research Society. As Falun Gong became popular, the Research Society awarded Li the title Master of Qigong, and later Grand Master of Qigong. For 2 years, Li traveled to almost every major city in China, giving lectures and teaching the exercises. In the process, Li received both awards and media attention. Meanwhile, however, tensions were building between Falun Gong and the Research Society. Finally, in early '96, Falun Gong broke from the Research Society altogether. In Singapore in 1998, Li spoke to practitioners about the decision. Falun Gong used to be a branch of the China Qigong Science Research Society. We discovered, however, that the Qigong Science Research Society didn't conduct any scientific research, nor did it study Qigong practices or try to understand Qigong itself. It was only making money. It used Qigong practices to make money. So in March of 1996, we withdrew from it. They attacked us after our withdrawal, but we paid no attention to their attacks and ignored them. But leaving the society left Falun Gong at odds with the state.
Because in China, it's still a very tightly run society. It's a one-party system. And without the state support, it's very difficult to survive.
By 1996, Falun Gong was becoming more and more popular in China. But popularity brought with it some unwanted attention.
The first day when Falun Gong appeared, when it was not in this scale of practicing, the government was kind of happy. But when Falun Gong spread very fast, the government became alerted.
They know that people are hungry and they need something. And they will go with whatever it is that's useful until it threatens to become uncontrollable.